You are at Law and Love, and you knew you were at Law and Love because that's why you tuned in, because you wanted to see Alexis Sapphire Breyer hanging out with her man, Mark Breyer. And today we got another podcast, another time with just you and me. We get a few minutes together. Why are you so excited about being with me today?
Oh, there's so many reasons. No, actually, I was thinking about this TikTok. It's this song, and it goes like, that's my man. He's like young and tall and blue eye. Have you seen that?
No, but that's not your man.
I know. That's why when you said the man, I was like thinking about that TikTok. I'm like, X. Anyways, you shouldn't have asked. I'm sorry. Remember that mentalist who was like, aren't you glad you can't like know everything that I'm thinking?
So I think it, yes, I remember that. And I feel strongly that it's best for both of us that I have no idea. But I wish it would be, it's good I don't know what you're thinking. I wish sometimes I knew what you were saying.
Oh, yeah, that's probably an impossibility. Because you speak a different language.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's not any language on the planet. It's like Mark language.
But, let me, so I once met a brilliant man. His name was Steve. Brilliant. And he told me this. I want you to listen. He said, whenever your wife asks you a question, she's telling you that that's how she feels.
Yeah.
As an example. Mm-hmm. As an example. This is brilliant, man. I would call him, it probably like Einstein, Nostradamus, Steve. And not necessarily in that order either. And so I found out, because this was like a couple years ago, right? And I told you, it's unbelievable. At that point, we had been together like 28 years. And you would say to me for years, are you cold? And I would say no and go to sleep because I wasn't cold. And are you hungry? And I'd say no. And I wouldn't get any food because I wasn't hungry. And that went on for almost 30 years. When I found out you were saying, Mark, I'm cold. Can you turn up the heat? Mark, I'm hungry. Can you get me some food? And so I wonder, why don't you just tell me what you want?
Well, I wonder now that you have this secret.
It's a great secret.
Why don't you always follow it?
Well, because it's very hard to do the right thing.
Really?
Yes. But
you just have to like listen.
I do better. Listening is not a strength, really. It's not really my strength.
I think you're pretty good at listening. It's like connecting the next dot.
I just need to be told what to do.
That was a question mark. Now it's like, and that's why I'm so good at telling you what to do. So let's.
Oh, you don't want to talk about this more? All right, fine. All right. We have Aiesha Beasley here and so I guess what we're going to do, we'll let her introduce it. But because we don't know by the time this airs, is TikTok still a thing?
Yes.
Is TikTok going to go like the way of give me an example. What is it? The 8-track tape. Are we all going to have to go onto Instagram and everywhere else? Does it even matter? We're going to find out when we talk to Aiesha. So, but this is a good one. I probably should wait. But when we get her on here, we're going to tell her about one of our worst parenting failures.
Okay.
But I'm not going to tell you.
It was your worst parenting failure.
It usually is. It usually is. All right. Let's bring Aiesha out here. Let's have some fun and let's learn a little bit more about some cool places we should see.
Cool.
Let's say you don't know the coolest places to go anywhere, let alone in your state of Arizona. You're like, where can I find it? I got the answer right here, right now. Hello, Aiesha.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
I'm good.
Well, we're excited to get you not just like meeting you out and about, but here on the podcast.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited about this.
Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Because she's really hard to, it's a lot of time. So are you, like, did you get
difficult one?
She's so challenging. You don't even know.
The truth is like, he makes it seem like he's not difficult, but he really is. And everyone thinks I'm difficult, but I'm really not.
That's what it is.
That's exactly what it is.
Totally
it's like
true.
A trick in the eye.
All right. So let's start with, all right. I ask this question all the time in life, but I don't know how many times I've asked it on my podcast. Someone said it to me. Now I'm going to say it to you. You ready?
I'm ready.
What's your story?
My story. Okay. Well, I am an Arizona native, born and raised from Tucson, Arizona. And I moved out to the Valley about 5 years ago. I was in Tucson, just working full time. I actually was doing social media in Tucson, blogging, and my background in content creation goes back to over a decade. I had a Tumblr. I had Instagram pre-reels, and pre-TikTok before like short form video was a thing.
Right.
It was just like Instagram as a photo sharing app. So I was posting my outfits, cute places in Tucson. And when I moved out here to Phoenix before the pandemic, I was going to still continue to do it as like a fun hobby, because that's what it really was for me. Social media was just a fun hobby. I had aspirations at the time to like work in fashion, live in NYC. And I took a job transfer to be a visual merchandiser out here in the Valley and just help. I was working for H&M at the time.
What is a visual merchandiser?
So a visual merchandiser is the person kind of behind the scenes doing the store setup. So the window displays, the mannequins. Like when you walk into a store, there's kind of like this formula to where we are trying to get you to buy. So if you even go into a Target has visual merchandisers. Like there's a specific formula and a way to where we do our setups to where you're like, oh, on this end cap, I want to get that. Like it's a whole.
You're the reason I buy stuff I didn't want to get.
Yeah, that's really what it is.
That's just evil.
We're just trying to brainwash you to buy from us. Really, that's all it is.
And make it look so nice.
Yeah.
So you're like, ooh, I like that.
Yeah, to make it inviting, to make you convert as a customer. So I did that for years, and yeah, I just was doing social media on the side. And before the pandemic, I downloaded TikTok, and I was just doing anything from funny skits to dancing videos to just whatever. I was just bored. Pandemic hits. I was furloughed from my job for a few months, so I wasn't working, and I was just uploading whatever. And I had a couple of food videos kind of blow up, and
What were they? What was the first one that was like, whoa, that did not just happen?
It was really a couple of clips I compiled from this. It's kind of like this retro 60s diner in Tucson called Little Anthony's. At the time, I had those clips from like a year ago, and I was like, okay, I'll just put this together as a video. I uploaded it, and it was just me outside the restaurant, and I'm just like in my cute little outfit, because naturally I was a fashion girly. I didn't traditionally start out as a foodie or a food account.
Right.
So that video took off, and it kind of set the stage to Arizona places. And I was like, well, I'm still new to the Valley, and I want to just explore fun things I like, because that's what I was doing in Tucson. And I was just uploading, and it kind of took off from there. So TikTok was the first platform that essentially took off for me, even though I was grinding for years on Instagram and got a small following, like a micro following of around 15,000. But TikTok changed the game to where virality and growing was very possible.
Right.
And that seems to be the story for most creators who started, especially around the pandemic. And I was like, wow, I have never seen these numbers before, even though I was like posting consistently on Instagram. So,
right. It's so much harder to grow on Instagram, right? I mean, now.
Even now, I feel like Reels has helped that, because
Right.
I've seen major growth from my account over the last few years. But, it took a platform like TikTok to change the game.
And they did.
They did.
To the point that everyone's copying them and everything else. And
Oh.
so at what point, because it's scary, right? At what point are you like, I'm a visual merchandising expert. They brought me up from Tucson to do this.
Yeah.
I love fashion. I'm going to put it to the side, and I'm going to be full-time in this. How hard of a decision was that?
It was such a hard decision, because I was working full time, for years. And, obviously the end goal once you're growing an account is like, maybe I could turn this into something that's profitable. Maybe I could turn this into a thing. And it took me getting recognized at my job. This was back in probably like 2022, where people would come up to me. I'd be like dressing mannequins. They'd be like, oh, you're that girl from TikTok that does those food videos, your Arizona places. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm here in the store and people are recognizing me. But also it just took me saving and kind of seeing the monetary gain I was getting out of it and building sustainable income, through brand partnerships, to where I'm like, okay, I can leave my job and I can make this happen. So I ended up quitting in 2023. So not too long ago. Yeah.
People around you.
Yeah.
How many of them were saying, don't give up your day job, this is crazy? And how many were like, what are you waiting for?
I would say a lot of the creators I knew that were also growing at the time locally were like, you could totally do it. We just did it. And I was like, I don't know. But I had, people in my family be like, you're crazy. Because they even knew what I was doing, years back, in 2018, 2017, when I started, my Instagram account. And they just couldn't believe they just couldn't believe it, even though I was at the time as a micro influencer getting PR, getting some opportunities. They're just like, that's not a real thing. That's not a real job. And I'm like, I swear it can be. Like, I'm going to show you. And then once I showed what I was making off of like some of my brand deals, especially like on a national level, I remember my dad like, jaw dropped. He's like, I cannot believe this. And I was like, yeah, I can make this a thing for myself. And so it kind of changed the game, when it came to stuff like that.
I think it's interesting in that whenever we go to Tucson, we're amazed. Yeah. Tucson's got an amazing food scene. We're not foodies, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Taco Bell is the height of food. And like, I love fast food, and I don't know the difference between, I just know what I like. I can't do anything with food, but I think Tucson is such this like great, everywhere you go, it just seems like there's independent restaurants that are really well run with great food on a per square mile basis, way more than in the Valley, I think. And I don't know if it's harder to find the places here, or you go all over the state though.
I do. I'm everywhere. I would say, yeah, Tucson definitely has a very underrated food scene comparable to, I feel like people always talk about the Valley and everything that's happening and all the growth that we're seeing out here, but Tucson's food scene is so good. There's so many hidden gems out there that don't get enough attention, versus, out here in the Valley.
Lots of chains here.
Lots of chains, absolutely. And the fact that we have such a more developed creator scene, Tucson's getting there. We're getting some of these creators emerging, but I feel like it was even harder for myself to break out as a creator in Tucson just because, just the reach out there. And also when I started in Tucson, and I'm sure it was kind of the same a little bit in the Valley, to where back 10 years ago, it was just weird to be having your tripod set up and filming. People literally would come up to me. I'd like try to take my photos, have my tripod set up, and they'd be like, are you okay? Like, what are you doing? What are you filming? I'm like, I'm just trying to create content. But people didn't understand that a decade ago, because we only saw that with like YouTubers and stuff like that, because that scene was already kind of developed, but not so much with like Instagram and short form videos. So just wasn't normal to be just talking to the camera in public by yourself.
Now we all just walk by.
Yeah,
I saw this TikTok of this girl, they basically challenged her. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was in the airport, and she's basically like doing all these a la seconds and tumblings and
In the airport?
In the airport.
Yeah.
And she was just like, why do we have to conform to what society says? Like, I'm going to dance and I'm just going to dance.
Yeah.
I think it might have been a little bit of a dare. But I think, like you said, lots of people now, that person's creating, Although I think a lot of people now aren't using tripods even as much. Do you still use a tripod?
If I'm filming by myself, yes. But sometimes I'll have friends that come with me, or my sister, or my boyfriend Jonah, and they'll help me film. But I mean, back then I didn't have a lot of creator friends or people who understood it. So it was me solo by myself, just doing my thing. Yeah.
I mean, I'm totally guilty of, if you go back even 2 or 3 years ago, and I don't remember exactly how I said it, and generally I try to lift people up, but I was like, what do you mean a job to get paid? Why are people paying you? Wait, they pay you to do a post? Wait, they pay these people to do a post? They do, and then at some point it hit me, I'm like, well, wait. We all know these brands spend X millions on national TV for us to watch a 30-second spot behind, and there's no connection, no credibility or anything. They take some of that money and they use people you've connected with, that you've grown to trust in some way, and that person's talking about it. We don't mock the millions they spend every year on TV, radio, billboard, and yet somehow it took me a while to realize, wait, this is just brilliant marketing. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. And I think that's kind of what some people don't really necessarily understand. I think there's this whole kind of negativity or rebuttal being like, I can't believe these influencers are making tens of thousands of dollars, off a post or off what they're doing on social media. But when you're thinking about it on a branding aspect, again, people are spending millions on commercials. They have to hire models. They have to hire a production crew. They have to, if they're putting a spot in a newspaper, they have to spend money on that, or, on television, on ABC. Like, there's so many costs that go into marketing, and why not get 20 influencers, pay them $2,000. And if you're like, for example, let's say it's beauty influencers and you're marketing a lipstick, you are reaching your target audience. You're reaching people who actually care about makeup. And it just converts better because you're actually reaching your target audience, because on television, it's just being blasted out to anybody. I could be watching a commercial on, something in sports that I may not be into, and I'm not going to buy the product really necessarily. So it's just not reaching a very targeted demographic. And so brands are actually spending less using influencers versus actually doing a full-on commercial that could cost millions of dollars. And I think people don't get that aspect of it. And so $1,000 to an influencer is like a drop in a bucket for a brand if they're reaching their target audience and demographic, who's going to actually buy the product.
And you also have way more time. Like commercials sometimes. We saw over the weekend, we saw a commercial. It was like a 15-second or 30 really short commercial, and it was a national commercial. Do you remember? I can't remember what it was, but it was something we had never even heard of. And we're like, wow, do you know how many millions they just spent? Because it was a national company. It was a very short commercial. The thing that I love about all of the TikToks, Instagrams, influencer stuff, but you can also spend more time and show more things, like regarding makeup. Like you can show how to put it on, the product, you can show everything. If you're going to places, it's not just like a commercial that's 30 seconds, but you can show the food, what the menu looks like, what you ordered. You can show so much more. So I think it is really giving the public more information to make better decisions and give them more information.
I agree with that. Yeah. And, you're working with creators who've built such a loyal community that their community trusts them and their opinion. And I think that's so important. I'm probably going to be more in tune to listen to a creator that I follow and I trust than just a celebrity on TV marketing a skincare product. That's the same thing.
Right.
I'm probably going to listen to that creator more because they're actually spending time with their audience. Like you said, putting it on, trying it on, sharing about, okay, this is how I use it in my skincare routine. And I'm probably going to trust and buy from that creator.
So I'm going to use an analogy, which Alexis will hate, but because I got to go to sports, because that's all I got. But some sports, people are so competitive with each other, and they're always trying to tear each other down. Many sports. And then you got sports, I never did this sport, but like skateboarders, anytime you're near those people who skateboard, they're always like cheering for each other and lifting each other up. In what you do in your world, there's X amount of brand dollars, right? Everyone's fighting for the same dollars. But on the other hand, is it a community of people that mostly are trying to help each other out? Or is it all hush hush because I don't want, the people is everyone trying to help each other? Or everyone's trying to like keep it kind of on the down low so no one gets my brand deals?
I can say from my own personal perspective, anytime creators reach out to me, I'm very transparent about rates and, how to charge or how to work with brands. I mean, I really can't say the same thing about others, but I mean, it is a very competitive space. And I think as we've kind of grown into this Arizona community, because when I kind of got in it, the community was kind of there in Phoenix a few years ago, but not as big as it is now. I mean, there's new creators popping up left and right and kind of doing the same things that we're doing. I will say that it is a little bit hush hush depending on the creator. But
she's thinking of somebody.
But I mean, it just depends on the creator.
Just so you know how to like read women language from now on.
But I'm an open
Aiesha
book.
just said, I'm there for people, but there are a whole bunch of people that will stab you in the back and tell you nothing. I didn't even catch that. I didn't hear you say that.
I'm not saying she went that far.
That's what you just said she said.
I'm not saying she went, you need to still learn to read correctly. I'm not saying she went
All right, let me
that
ask
far,
you a
but
question without naming
definitely
names.
she's thinking of
Are you
something.
aware of people that could be there to help each other, but they purposely don't?
Yes, I am very aware
You
of
were
that in
right.
the community.
Of course. I have a question for you. What if a brand called you and was like, I'm going to give you like an absurd amount of money, more like
Best brand deal ever.
best brand deal ever, but you like totally hated this brand? What would you do?
I've actually turned down big brand deals. I've turned down 5-figure deals just because it wasn't aligned with me. Yeah. Yeah. I think.
Can we reconsider that?
I mean, and it's tough because that's a lot of money. And, you know, when you're talking about a $20,000 brand deal, I mean, that's part of somebody's salary, you know, for a year. And
that is 6 months of salary for many, many hardworking Americans.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And they're usually for like a post.
yeah,
Or a
one or
couple
two
posts
posts
or whatever, right?
something like that.
Not a lot of time. It's not weeks of work. I mean, it is years of work to get to the point where you've earned it. So let's not call it 30 seconds of work because that's a lot.
Which I think a lot of people do forget. Like, I think sometimes people are like, oh, that influencer got this major brand deal, got so much money. But I don't think they realize, like, they don't figure in all of the years that they got nothing.
Yeah.
You know?
You have
Because
to work for free a lot of times.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like that
They do
sometimes.
that to every artist.
Yeah, like lawyers, I was going to say. Like,
when someone makes X amount of money
Yeah.
to they're in a movie and they're like, oh, I don't know who the big actors are right now, but whatever, they made $19 million to make that movie. They filmed it in 6 weeks. No. They made $19 million because they became one out of a million actors that was good enough, hardworking enough, and lucky enough to be that person that would get you to go to the movie.
Yeah.
And then they filmed it for 6 weeks.
and got nothing for many, many years, probably.
And had to
waiting
beat the odds.
tables,
Yes.
sleeping on people's
Right.
couches.
Yeah,
All that
100%.
stuff.
Yeah.
But still, to turn down
Thousands of dollars.
real money, right?
Yeah,
And assuming when it's happened, it's not because it's an evil corporation that you hate, but because you just don't, it's not your product.
Yeah.
It's not a product you like. That's a tough move.
It's tough. And it just, you know, sometimes not everything's going to be aligned with you. And I feel like I've worked so hard to build this audience, and the second you lose your audience trust, you're done. It's over.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure we've seen that all the time with people getting canceled online. They said this, they worked with this company, and they're like, oh, so you believe what that company believes in? And it's a whole thing. And it's like, you break your audience trust, they won't trust you again, meaning you could lose everything that you've built for years. And
It takes a lot of time to build up. We tell our kids this a lot. It takes a lot of time to build up, and it takes, boom, 1 second to bring it down.
and it's over.
Yeah.
It's just like, you ever seen like when they take a stadium or a hotel and they implode it?
Yeah.
And it took how many years to design it and build it? And it took boom, 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 and it's down.
Implode it.
And that's
Yeah.
the same thing with anybody. Well, maybe it's anybody, but certainly anyone in your position where you're relying on an audience that trusts you and wants to watch your stuff, anything, which is crazy now because everything's on video and everyone has pictures, and you can have pictures come out where you're with somebody and they're like, all of a sudden people are like, I don't want anything to do with him or her. Meanwhile,
Yeah, from like 10, 20 years ago.
it could be three months ago. How many people do we take pictures? If I'm wearing the suspenders, right? Because I'm the only one still left wearing suspenders. If people go, do you want to take a picture? I think that's so nice. But I have no idea. I might have taken pictures with multiple mass murders. I'm sure I have. Why not? But if they ever get caught, I just met them and took a picture. Anyway, it's just an interesting thing that you have to deal with and be careful with.
You have to. Once you get to that certain level, I mean, I think when you're a creator just starting out, you get so excited when brands start reaching out and you want to say yes to every single thing. And I think that's how you build and you grow. But I think when you get to a certain level, you really have to be careful with the people you align yourself with, the brands you align yourself with, the businesses you align yourself with, because you just never know.
Don't you think it was a bad idea then to come on the husband and wife?
No, you guys are awesome. I love you guys.
So what are some favorite brands or places that you've worked with?
Ooh, that's putting her on the spot.
I know that is.
Yeah, but
putting
if,
her on
no.
the
If
spot.
you answer that, then someone else is going to be like, "Why didn't you mention me?"
Oh,
I know
no.
you don't have to think of it that way. I'm sure there's so many, but maybe ones that you think we would most like.
That's safer.
That's
and you could be like,
safer.
"Well, I knew Mark wouldn't like that. That's why I didn't mention you guys because Mark's difficult."
Oh, I've worked with so many. Oh my gosh, I've worked with so many brands throughout the years. I would say locally, I've had such amazing experiences working with a lot of the tourism boards. I had a very
That's
large.
fun.
Yeah, I've had a very large partnership. Last year, I had a very big partnership with Visit Tucson, which is awesome
Sweet.
because that's my hometown.
That's so great.
What's the name of the restaurant in downtown Tucson near the university that we liked? Do you remember?
The one we went to like 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Oh, I can't remember.
But
it's right near the school.
We have never. I kid you not. And again, we're not foodies at all.
Yes,
but
not at
almost
all.
every time we hit up Tucson, we find another cool place, and that here we end up I mean, there's a bunch of great places to eat here too. But I don't know what it is about Tucson. And I don't know if I'm alone. I don't know if that's like a thing or I just think it. But my experience has been, and Visit Tucson. Tucson's a great city.
It's a great city. So it was an honor to partner up with them. I've worked with a lot of the other tourism boards out here throughout the years, like Tempe Tourism, Visit Mesa. I've done stuff with Visit Phoenix, the Scottsdale Tourism Board. I mean, all great. And then, just supporting a lot of local restaurants. I think that's just been so fun doing that. And, just sharing just sharing just cool stuff with my audience, especially, people are moving here all the time. So it's always nice to see those DMs to be like, thank you so
Yes.
much. I just moved here. Your page has been a lifesaver to find cool stuff and things to do. And no, it's been fun.
All right. Now, I don't want to lecture you,
Yeah.
which means I'm about to lecture. Right? Because anytime someone's like, well, I had a friend I grew up with. He used to be, I don't want to brag. You always knew. Anytime he said, I don't want to brag, he was about to brag. Anyway, but it's true for everybody.
That's like a life hack.
Yeah.
As soon as the person says, like, I don't want to say
I'm not
this,
trying to offend you. You know
it's
they're going to say
coming.
something offensive.
Yeah. Just go ahead and offend me.
Just go ahead. Let's just get to it. Because saying I don't want to offend you, all you do is get me ready for the offensive thing you're going to say. So I don't want to lecture you. But you have an entire passion for love and skill set for fashion, right? On the other hand, you've built this brand that is not absent of fashion because you're in it, but it's not. So and by the way, I am not saying you should go do the fashion thing, but it's such a passion. Yeah. Is there any way to bring that into what you do or your audience wants what your audience wants and that you got to keep it separate?
That's what's really hard as I evolve in this industry and as I evolve as a creator, because I initially started my page and it was like fashion, it was lifestyle. And then I just so happened to be in some cute outfits at a coffee shop or wherever. And people are like, oh my gosh. And they saw me as this foodie. And so I've learned so much about food throughout the years and, doing my little reviews, and I'm always in some, little cute outfit and at these little restaurants. And I've always wanted to merge that together because end goal is to work with some of those maybe larger fashion brands and companies. And, I see some of these like big influencers that have millions of followers. They go to all these fun brand trips and they're working with these big brands. I'm like, I want to get to that level. I want to get to that level someday. And so I know my audience loves all the Arizona stuff, but I get questions, in my DMs about like, what's your skincare routine, or where did you get this? You're wearing that dress. Where's that from? So there is interest from my audience, but I know my core audience is there for Arizona places.
I know nothing about it. This is a true question, but can you do 2 channels and do on one, hey, or is that considered, then it's not like, is that fake? Because now why are you doing this over here and that over there?
That's what's hard, because I've been trying to merge it for a while, like doing little get ready with me's, like sprinkling that in. And so obviously, I can see the drop in engagement and I'm posting something that's not food or things to do in Arizona.
They don't like the get ready with me's
because they're going on expecting you to show them some cool place.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna say they hate them, but when I do less of Arizona places and I try to do more of the lifestyle stuff, people like, we miss Arizona places. And so it is hard. And I've thought about, especially with this looming TikTok ban, I have a YouTube and I've I've been on and off of YouTube for a while. Like I'll post for a while and then I'll stop. And I'm like, maybe I should just do all that on YouTube. It's a fresh platform. I don't have much of a following on there yet. So I can maybe build on there in that other realm. And the ones who are interested in longer form videos and more about my life, maybe they'll follow me on YouTube from Instagram and TikTok. And then Instagram, and if TikTok sticks around, can, you know, stick with most of like the food and Arizona content and stuff like that.
So I've never thought about this till now. So what I'm going to say might be really stupid. Like many other things I said. But I love music. I know nothing about music. Can't tell you anything about how it's created on it, but I love music. But I'll listen to different. So they used to have this thing called the radio. And you'd go to different stations and each station had its own format. All right. So I listen to different kinds of music, but when I turn on a station, if I turn on, you know, the pop music station, I don't want to hear, you know, old school rock and roll.
Yeah.
I turned on the pop station.
Yeah.
Even though a half hour from now I may turn on. So I mean that's the issue, right? Like you have such. It's a blessing and a curse. It's way more blessing, but you have a following now. You were saying, I don't think we were rolling yet when you were saying, or maybe we were, when you said people, oh no, you told us here, people recognize you as the fashion merchandiser, but for what you were doing online, right? Like then you know you have a brand. Yeah. When people recognize you totally out of context, you have a brand. But now you got a brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like it's, you know, if you go to a concert for someone, Lil Baby cannot cover Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Even if he can.
Yeah.
He can't because you didn't go to a Led Zeppelin concert.
Yeah.
You went to a Lil Baby concert. And so you have to decide, and now you're Lil Baby and you can't be Led Zeppelin. But could you be Led Zeppelin on another platform? This may be really dumb. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
No, and that makes a lot of sense because, you know, people followed me for a reason. They followed because maybe they were new to Arizona or they've lived here all their life and they didn't know that these things and places existed. And so to just pop out and do makeup tutorials, people are going to be taken back by it. So it is different. And that's why going viral sometimes can be a blessing and a curse because like the demure person, for example, it's just like they know them for that thing. And so
he doesn't know what you're talking about.
Oh, very demure, very mindful. But
I've heard of people like that.
Anyways,
I read about one of them.
It was a TikTok
Oh, was it a
sound.
TikTok sound? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm glad y'all are speaking in TikTok to each other. I have no idea.
Went super viral.
But sometimes when you're known for that thing, it's hard to break away from that. Yeah.
I do think though that fashion-wise, you're just so cute, so great, and I can see people like getting a little glimpse of that as you're on the way to the place. Like that's why I was thinking the Get Ready With Me. I was like, oh, those would probably be like still super cute. Maybe if you did them like kind of shorter and then like, you know, as they're getting used to it, you know?
Yeah, I think you have to train your audience.
Yeah, because I would even be like, where are those pants from? They're so cute. Where their hat? I mean, that's fashion.
Fashion merchandiser.
I know. That's why I'm saying I love
visual
it.
Merchandiser.
Visual merchandiser.
Yeah.
I learn something new every day.
Yes, I love it. Love it.
All
so
right.
wait, I want to know, okay, so you went over some things for me and Mark, like, because you don't want to say exactly, we don't want to have her
Because I did research and I saw some of the stuff on your channel.
Yes.
Now, I would pretend that I'm always online and always looking at stuff, but that's not exactly what happened. What had happened was you were coming in and I was like, well, let me see Aiesha's channel, which I don't even know what's on our channel. I have no idea, right? I do spend time filming. If Bonnie Blue walks in and goes, Mark, film this, I do whatever I'm told. I don't care, right? But if she can ever get me to actually do it, I like it, right? It's fun. But I don't know what she writes. I don't know any of that. So people are like, oh, you must be on social media. I'm just never on social media. So I went on your thing. And there were some really cool things. The hidden private Harkins theater thing was the cool. Did they you didn't get to actually watch a movie in there, did you?
No.
That was just but
they let me film in there though.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And then you went to this brunch that was like, I was like, I could not believe it with the and I can't remember the name of the place, but it was at a resort of some kind. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Anyway, you've done some like really cool local play, and I had no idea that there was a Fred Flintstone whole bedrock community in Arizona. So you got to see, you showed me some really cool Arizona, and we've been here since December of '95.
Yeah, a long time.
Which leads to, by the way, right before you sat down, I was like, when Aiesha gets here, we're going to tell her one of our biggest parenting failures. And she said, Mark, it's yours.
Yes, it's yours.
You don't even know.
I know, but I just assumed that they're all his.
Here's what it is.
Most of the parenting failures, though, I have to say, like, while they were going on, I told him, like, don't do this, change this, or whatever it is. But the good thing is we had 8 children and they were so far apart. By the time it got to like the second set, he was like, you're right. And then he changed his mind. So we have like 4 great kids. Me say? Basically, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right. So
every 10 years, I'm like, no matter what it is, I feel like every 10 years, he like will then agree with me. It just takes him like a decade.
She's from Boston. I'm from Detroit. We moved to Arizona. Yeah. Now, if you move to Arizona, what is the one place that you would naturally go see or take your kids to see?
I would take them. Okay, I would take them to, I have 2 spots. I really love Bisbee. I think it's such a fun little funky town. And
we've never gone.
I love Bisbee.
I don't think we've have been
cool
to
things,
Bisbee.
Yeah, it's such a little fun, funky town.
Yeah.
And then I would say Sedona. I just think it's so beautiful. I know it's a little basic, but I love Sedona. I think it's just such a nice, quick road trip just to get out of Phoenix and just be.
And such a weather change.
I know.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you made me feel better.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought for sure you were going to say the Grand Canyon. And we had only taken one kid to the Grand Canyon when he was like 6 months old.
Yeah.
Until COVID hit. And then we couldn't go to normal places. Like everything, you couldn't go anywhere.
But they hadn't been to Sedona either.
Was that true?
It was actually really great. Like when COVID, during like Thanksgiving and the New Year, because normally, you have a lot of family over and we couldn't do that. So we were like, we're going to do something still great. And so we took them to the Grand Canyon. They had never been. And then we took them to Sedona. We went on that pink Jeep.
Yeah, I did that one. Yeah.
Did you like it?
So I have a video talking about it and breaking down the pros and cons of the pink Jeep tour, and I really liked it. I think the only thing I didn't like was like that
bumpiness.
That was the whole thing.
The kids didn't like that as much either. But I feel like you have to at least experience some tour of that nature, and there is just bumps. What about horseback riding? Have you gone horseback riding?
Not in Sedona, but I did it in Wickenburg last year. I went horseback
riding. How'd you do?
I did pretty okay. Besides the horse, decided to
Oh, your horse took off a little bit.
Yeah, I took off a little bit. I was like, oh my gosh.
We had that happen to one of our kids and we were kind of laughing. But I was like, it's really not funny because...
Which kid? Because I might have been like, go.
I can't remember, but maybe it was Pierce. I don't remember. I just remember when we were in Sedona, we did the Jeep and then we did horseback riding and it was a lot of fun. And like you said, it's only a couple hours away from Arizona. Flagstaff, I feel like too, we don't get there hardly
Great
ever.
Town.
Yeah, we've only been there like 3 times.
Oh, I love it.
Maybe
I try to go a few
3,
times every summer just to get out of the Phoenix heat.
Get the weather, and it's just like this cool little town. It's got a totally different vibe. People talk about Arizona like it's the desert, but there's a whole huge part of Arizona that is not the heat and the desert.
Exactly.
And we just, you get caught up in the biggest population centers are down in the heat, right? With Phoenix and Tucson and everything down here. But there's that whole northern Arizona that's very cool. And so good. I feel better because I thought for sure you'd say the Grand Canyon. I'm like, man, we didn't take our kids to the Grand Canyon forever. I didn't realize we had never taken our kids to Sedona.
Yeah.
Because we've been to Sedona.
We have been. Not too much, though. A couple of times. Yeah, we actually went to Pine Top for the first time last June or July. We had never been there before, but we went with one of our kids. We did like an overnight. Oh, yeah. Actually, so we should call you because usually, because we have so many kids, we try to plan 2 nights away with them once a year, which isn't that much, but we're always like, where should we go? What should we do? So we took one kid to Pine Top and it was a lot of fun. We got board games, and there was like a ping pong table there.
I whooped him. I beat her. I beat him. I was the ping pong champion in that house.
He's a good ping pong player.
I don't have to be good. I just had to beat you and him.
True. It wasn't too easy to beat me. And then we took one kid to Sedona, which was a lot of fun too. Yeah. I can't remember where we stayed, but it was right near like the downtown area.
That area is really
And then we were like, where's the mall? Because we needed to get him some sneakers because he didn't bring any shoes other than like flip-flops, and we were going to like go on a hike. And we were like, oh, the mall's like 30 minutes away. I guess we're not going to a mall. We went to like I forget where.
Yeah, it was some kind of strip mall.
It was fun.
So have you been everywhere in the state at this point? I mean, not literally, but most.
Oh, most small towns, yes. Yeah, I've been pretty much everywhere. Everywhere, yeah.
Do you have like a limit, or do you like try to set up your week? Like, I'm going to go to this many places this week?
Yeah, I'm pretty scheduled now. I feel like now that I do this full time and it's like my main source of income, I'm very scheduled. Like, I'll have certain days where it's like office days and I take phone calls with brands, and then I, scheduled my editing and stuff like that. And then I'll kind of do like my filming days, and, I kind of stack my schedule like that.
That's good.
And then accommodate travel.
So 5 years from now, I know I got someone behind me.
Oh, yeah.
Trouble. This is my last question. Actually, there's questions off camera that we have for you.
Yeah.
That have been assembled in honor of your arrival. It's 5 years from now. Where do you want to be?
Ooh.
Because we're going to bring you back in 5 years. Because by then, Law and Love, or whatever we call it then, it'll be so massive, and we got to bring you back. So whatever you say now, we're going to play it back in 5 years. 5 years. Where are you at?
I hope in 5 years that my personal brand expands nationally. Arizona Places has been kind of like that headlining part of my personal brand, and I want to continue to grow beyond Arizona Places. Maybe it's a new series where I'm traveling everywhere and doing the same things, and also expanding that brand into more lifestyle and fashion. Instead of being a local creator, I hope to be a national creator. I hope to be one of like that in that top 1% of where people are like, oh yeah, I know of Aiesha Beasley. Yeah, she does all these things. She does all this travel content, and she's from Arizona, and I hope it expands in that realm.
That's awesome. But to be clear, you're making a living with a huge following. You're already well into the top 1%. But I hear you. You want to be in the fraction of a fraction.
I want to be on that Forbes creator list.
That's what I'm talking about. Right.
That's the goal.
That is super exciting. Do you have any questions, or should I bring the questions out?
Yeah, I'm excited to see what the questions are.
All right, let's go. Don't mess this up, Bonnie Blue.
I feel like we already grilled her, so.
That's right. Okay. All right, here we go. Let me just hold it here where I can see it. All right. Ooh, from Anonymous. I do not know what I'm about to read, but I want to be clear. It's anonymous, which concerns me. Now, maybe I should read it to myself, but I'm not going to do that. Here we go. How did you get the courage to leave your 9 to 5? I want to, but I'm scared of a bad month and having to use credit cards again.
Yeah, I mean, quitting your job to do anything in freelance, to be a freelancer, to be a content creator is definitely scary. Some of the steps I took before I left, I made sure I had sustainable income coming in through brand partnerships. I tracked that for about a year before I even quit. I was like, okay, this month I made this much amount, that much, this, that, and the third, it kept going. I also made sure I had 6 months of savings, like living expenses saved up. So let's say I did have a bad month, I'm still covered, right? Also, I would say those were like the two major things. I made sure that I just really made sure my finances were in order and I was able to consistently make money. And I think a lot of times creators, especially when you're in the local scene, it's hard to like initiate and ask about, pay and money. And I get that. But I think when it becomes, if you want to be a full-time content creator and that's what you want to do, you have to break that hobby mindset. It has to be a business. And at the end of the day, there's a fine line between, helping out businesses, taking the free meals, but also a meal can't pay my bills. There becomes to where you have to start building boundaries. And I know that is the most difficult thing to do. And
I think also what you said is so important because so many people now, they're like, I want to be famous and be a creator.
Yeah.
But they don't have the discipline of the structure.
Yeah.
So it's like, it really is still, do you have the business sense? Mm-hmm. Do you have the discipline? Do you have the structure and organization? Are you able to, have all the skills of building a business? Because a lot of people that I see, they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just, be a creator, but then they don't actually work 9 to 5 or however, like when we first went out on our own, even now, it's not 9 to 5. It's, every day, like 9 to 9, you know what I mean? So it's like, you have to work even harder.
You do.
And so I don't think a lot of people.
Alexis has not seen a 9 to 5 in her life.
No, even when I didn't work for anyone,
if she ever does 9 to 5, she'll call it retirement.
I know, but that's just me. I grew up in an environment where, it was constant work, which has its pros and cons, right?
Absolutely.
Even for content creators, I feel like sometimes it's like you're always on, right?
Oh, all
like
the time.
you have to always be like looking for things or seeing things. Like it's always rolling in your mind. And I think sometimes that's the thing that I see from people, like, okay, you're going to be a content creator, but you still have to have like a business plan. What does that look like? Do you have the savings? What does your, what's your strategy? What's your marketing? What's your organization and structure of everything? Because at the end of the day, it's not really, it's still fun, right?
Yeah.
But it's a job. It's like, wait, I have to leave, I have to go and do this.
Exactly. And then just to also touch on that, I think a lot of creators are waiting for brands to reach out to them, and it doesn't always work like that. Even at my level, yes, I get a lot of outreach, but I'm still pitching brands. I'm signed to an influencer talent agency, and I'm still pitching myself. Even though my talent manager pitches me out for opportunities as well, I'm still putting myself out there. I'm still, trying to move the needle. It's a hustle.
Downside? The more you can put to the top of the funnel, the more that comes out on the other end that helps them and helps you.
Absolutely.
So
but
why
it's part
rely
of
on
the job that not all creators see?
No.
Yeah. It's like the hustle.
It's the hustle.
Right.
Every day.
Every day you're like hustling. It's not just the
because
content
you don't know when your next
free
paycheck
stuff, like
is coming. You could kill it one month and the next month it's nothing.
Or you could be the one who makes the extra hustle, right? The extra grind, connects with someone that becomes a long-term play for you, helps them, because instead of sitting back and hoping someone else will do it, which is, all right, that rolls into the last question from Deb, which is, how are you getting invited to events? I'm trying to meet more micro-influencers like me, but I'm not getting invited.
So here's a few things on how to get invited to more local events. If you're trying to get into the industry, one thing that I've noticed small creators not do is put that they live in Arizona. Some of them don't even put that. So a lot of times these PR agencies or social media managers, they're looking for creators that live in the area for different events, whether that's on a national level or like a local level, and making sure you have that you live in Phoenix, Tucson, or wherever in your bio helps, because when they're searching, you'll pop up. 2 is also, are you creating content in that realm? Are you creating, if you want to get into the food scene, are you creating food content? Are you going out and creating videos on your own, tagging these businesses? I know even in my early days, I was tagging every tourism board in my videos. I was tagging Visit Tucson, Visit Phoenix, and like just really trying to put myself out on the map. Are you doing that in your videos? because a lot of creators aren't. They say they want to do it, but they're not. I'll look at their page and I'm like, I don't see a food video on here, yet you want to get invited to food events, you know? So making sure you're creating that content that is going to attract those businesses, those PR agencies, and those tourism boards, to connecting with creators. I know I'm more introverted. I mean, on camera, I can be very talkative, but I'm very introverted. And how I met people in the industry was a lot of them slid in my DMs. And so if they're an outgoing person, I highly recommend just DMing, shooting your shot, right? Even for myself, even if it's on a brand level, reaching out to a brand and say, hey, you know, would love, you know, to be thought of for, you know, future opportunities or events. I was even doing that. So it's like you kind of have to put yourself out there. And I think in this current creator landscape, there's so many creators. It's getting oversaturated, and you kind of have to make yourself known. You have to be like, hi, I'm here. I exist, for people to recognize you and know that you are a local creator. So you kind of have to hustle in that way and make yourself known, you know, network, you know, go out there, even if it's not an influencer event and you're going to a local market or somewhere, making sure you're making those connections and networking with people.
I love the point you made. I heard this guy interviewed. He was an author, and he'd meet people, and like he had actually like written books that, you know, like that's how he made his living. And he said, everywhere I go, I meet people, and they're like, oh, you're an author. I want to be an author. And he says to me, he goes, well, how much time have you spent in the last month working on being an author? Oh, well, you know, I don't have time to do it right now. Today, because your calendar doesn't lie. If you're not putting aside time to be an author, you don't really want to be an author. And to your point, a lot of people say, I'm an influencer, or I want to be an influencer. And I'm not talking to you, Deb. I'm not saying Deb. But my point is, how much time are you really putting into it? Because you had to transition from it being a fun thing to saving money, and now you're full time. It's what you do. It's unbelievably successful.
Yeah.
But if you just want to keep doing what you want to do on your own timeline, whatever, that's fine. But don't tell yourself that you're really trying to be what you've become.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of differences between I'm going to shoot some fun videos and this is kind of cool too. The lights only stay on and my future depends on, you know, a lot of work.
1,000%. And it definitely was. Even my weekends, it wasn't just watching TV all day. It was like, okay, this is my weekend to go shoot content, edit, do what I need to do. After work, it was editing, going to events, shooting, filming content. I took every opportunity as a content opportunity to grow my platform. And it really was 9 to 5 to a 5 to 9. And that's what it was for several years. Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. It was great having you here and getting to know you way better than just seeing you at something for like a minute. That was very cool.
Let's have her tell the audience.
Oh, yeah. So the people, look, the world. Almost the entire world now is watching Law and Love. I mean, this thing, by the time if they're not watching it now, when they rewatch it in a couple of years, let me go back and check out some. They want to know how to see everything you're doing. So let that camera know how to find you. That one right there.
Okay. You guys can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Aiesha Beasley. I also have a website, aieshabeasley.com. And you can find me also on Threads and Pinterest at Aiesha Beasley. I am everywhere.
And
I am on every platform.
And Tumblr.
And Tumblr. If it's still my
if it's still there.
If it's still there. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.